As it's the end of the fishing season, coming up to the middle of March in 2021, I'd like to look back at what I've been up to making fishing videos over the last year, what I intend to do over the next few months for next season in the close season, and discuss ideas. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's been watching the videos, giving useful comments. It all helps me. One or two old friends have reappeared, so here's a big hello to Andy Sackley, who's now in Canada, who I fished with in the mid-70s at Wareham. Didn't think you'd reappear, but nice to hear from you. Hope you continue to enjoy the videos. Someone much more local still, Wayne Nippard, who was my old partner in crime when we were match fishing back in the late 80s and early 90s. We used to go up to the Bristol Avon every week. For those, get up at 5:15, hit the road at 6:15, breakfast at 7 at Warminster, onto the draw and then fish a match, and then get home about 8 o'clock every Sunday evening, or sometimes Saturdays as well. Like a job almost, but it was great fun, and it's good to see that Wayne's still around enjoying his fishing and commenting on my videos. And thanks to everyone else who's commenting on the videos as well. One viewer I've been asked to mention is someone called Kevin Baker. His son says I have to mention him. He lives in Dorset and fishes the Upper Stour, so good luck with that bit of water. Hope to get up there myself next season. Really missed out on the Upper Stour this year, fished it only 3 times. We did video 2 of the times and did okay, had some nice chub, 1 or 2 decent roach. Could have been a lot better, but what with the COVID restrictions and floods and general rabble being out on the river in the summer, trying to avoid them, it wasn't to be. I'd also like to mention my secret cameraman, which is Richard Farrow, who helps me most of the time when I'm out fishing. I don't always go fishing with him. Sometimes I just set up a couple of cameras and set them running. Got a nice little camcorder that will run for an hour and a half before it needs a new battery, so that's incredible. And it's good fun trying to make videos. We've got some good ideas for making videos in the future. We've got better sound equipment that we've yet to put into practice. Some different camera gear, including the camera that this has been filmed on, which has got some different lenses to go with it. Provides very high quality video if we need it. One of the big drawbacks of where we've been able to video this winter has been very noisy, because I've been restricted to fishing at Wimborne a lot of the time. There's constant road noise no matter where you are, lots of people around, sometimes people shrieking or shouting, a lot of wind noise, which is not always easy to defeat. We can defeat it once we get the better gear out, but we didn't really want to take out the better gear in what was often wet conditions, wet and muddy and horrible. Rain and mud don't mix with expensive camera gear unless you go to a lot of trouble. Another project that started last year that didn't really get underway was to film underwater. You really need very clear water to be able to do that, and I thought it was going to be great. Back in June we started to get clearer water, and then everything went wrong. Just about every water around had an algal bloom, went green, could hardly see a thing in it. That's no good. Then we seemed to get some heavy rain in sort of late summer. That coloured up the water. Then we got a lot of detritus, for want of a better word, of decaying plant matter. That made the water murky as well. And there were 1 or 2 technical issues with the very cheap camera I use underwater. The casing leaked. I figured out how to fix that with some silicone grease. But that's interesting, and we will add that hopefully this summer when the the sun is high, the waters are clear. We can get a camera into position when I'm fishing and see what's going on underwater a bit of the time anyway. One thing I did find out from filming underwater last year was just how cruddy it is down on the bottom in many waters. The amount of, it's far from even under there. There's sort of sticks and twigs, odd rocks, bits of weed, all sorts of junk, and yet we fish happily in there, and we don't usually catch the bottom as much as you'd think you would. The fish are incredibly active. They move around all the time. They're in and out of the swim. If when I've been filming where there's roach and dace, they move as a shoal quite often. Bigger ones can appear. But if something like a big perch, and I'm not talking a monster, £1.5 perch appears, a lot of the small fish quickly disappear, only to come back 5 minutes later. And it sort of shows you why when you're fishing for roach you think, oh, it's gone quiet for 10 minutes. Because there's some predator down there. Might be a pike gets a bit on edge, or a big perch just saunters through the swim, then disappears, and then the fish come back. The most enjoyable sessions and videos I've been making are the Roach Reflections series, which is well into the high 20s by now. And I'm going to continue to work on those. I don't need to get on the riverbank for those. I can just sit in my little studio here. The quest for a big star roach is going to come to a temporary end, as it's the end of the river season, but that will come back next year. I want to continue with that. I want to get out on the Hampshire Avon again next year. I did make a couple of short videos. Still learning a lot about what was what on the Avon, on the stretches I fished, so that could be interesting. There's a few unknown waters I want to go in, really obscure bits of fishing in and around near where I live that are pretty much unfished, and it'll be interesting to see what I can turn up. I'm not expecting monsters, just to see what's in these unfished waters. It could be anything: roach, dace, rudd, even go somewhere down on the estuaries to see what can be turned up there. I've done a couple of programs that were following in the footsteps of Jack Hargreaves. I was a great fan of Jack Hargreaves back in the 70s, and I've got access to some copies of his later videos, Old Country, where he often fished with Dave Swallow. And some of those, we copied a couple at Fiddleford and Manston, and there's some others on the Upper Stour. I like to try and recreate those. The fishing has changed. We're 40 years on. It's not going to be the same, but we can see if we can have a go at following the format that he did. It's a nice format. It's a fairly short program, 10 to 15 minutes, not too long. I'm a great fan of not too long videos. See videos on YouTube and they're an hour long, and you think, well, here's 10 minutes and nothing happening, someone just watching a rod or something like that. Well, do you really want that? I tend to go for the edited highlights, shall we say. One of the other things I've got in mind to do, and I will be able to start it in the close season in the spring, is a series on waggler fishing. I may do two series. One might be the simple stuff, easy waggler fishing, the novice level. And then if that goes well, may do a much more advanced level waggler fishing. There's some interesting stuff. It's quite hard to film waggler fishing, believe it or not. Nothing much seems to be going on with it, but if we can capture the subtleties of doing clever things, like holding back wagglers on rivers, which people don't think you can do, but you can. On the drop fishing, stuff like this, slider fishing, then we'll have a go at that. And there's all sorts of other types of fishing I want to look at and cover. A bit of retro fishing maybe. So once again, thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Continue doing it. Thank you for liking my videos. I appreciate that. Thank you for commenting on the videos. If you spot something or have ideas or want to question what I do or why I do it, then ask away. I'll always try and respond to comments. And I'm going to leave it there. That's coming up to about 10 minutes. So thank you once again, and goodbye for now.